Alright. That looks stable. So welcome once again to us talking about old D&D books. Uh, we finished off the books that were released in October of 2003, so we're moving all the way to the November of 2003 for the two books that were released then, starting with Complete Warrior. I'm Vincent.
I'm Shiv.
I'm Hunter Green.
And I'm Vincent. Trappist is currently indisposed at the moment. He will be disposed at some point and probably join us.
Could you do me a favor?
Huh.
And in your Discord, slightly lower my voice.
In my Discord, slightly lower your voice. As soon as I find my Discord. There we go. How's that?
Testing now. Much better.
Okay.
Yeah, I was blasting people's eardrums out.
Ah. Sound issues.
Yep,
My favorite issues.
I was gonna say it's a Sound Goblin special.
Yep. Okay. But yes, Complete Warrior. The first of the complete series of handbooks, which, more specifically, this is the first pass at the complete series of handbooks. They basically do a series of 4, and then much later do another series of 4, roughly covering the same areas, except the second time they more know how to actually play their own game.
I mean, community feedback will do it.
Yeah. As for the name of the series, Complete Insert the Blank. This actually comes from 2nd edition, where they had the complete insert classier handbooks, like Complete Fighters handbooks. Most notable in those books are the class kits, which are not really ACFs per se. It's more like, here's stuff you add on top of the class. Hypothetically, both positive and negative, but not really. And the word balance in 2nd edition is about as well used as the word balance in 3.5.
Could you say that an attempt was made, or is it not even that?
Hypothetically, they were playing their own game at that point, so some attempts were made more. And all the early editions of D&D are like semi-compatible with each other, so they at least have more of a ballpark idea of how the game was played and what went on. But like class kits were not even balanced within themselves, really. Like Cavalier was the notable standout. But that aside, as far as this book is concerned, it is actually its own successor, or it is also basically meant to be its own successor and replacement for the 3.0 book Sword and Fist, which was a collection of feats and prestige classes for the fighter and monk, with a broader scope. For Complete Warrior has a broader scope, with the emphasis on martial combat, hypothetically. Well, that works out. We'll see, and I'll mildly spoil as... Well, they tried.
Bless their hearts.
Yep. Anyways, getting into it, we're going to start with the new classes. Starting with Hexblade. This term seems familiar. But yeah, in 5th edition, currently, Hexblade is a subclass of Warlock, known previously for being the 1-level dip that would let you add Charisma to your attack and damage rolls.
Now it's a 3-level dip to add Charisma. It's a 2-level dip to add Charisma to attack.
No, it's a 3-level dip to actually get Hexblade, but Pact of the...
But it's 2 levels to get Pact.
Yeah.
Or get one of their things to let you choose one of these various options, which can get you Pact Blade.
Yeah. But that aside, how Hexblade was originally designed is it's kind of a take on trying to do an arcane paladin / ranger. i.e. the basically the paladin to or the paladin to wizard, or the half-caster fighter to wizard sorcerer that paladin is to clerk, something like that. There, I put that in words that make something resembling sense.
Okay, I'm still lost. Not I'm joking. I got what you're saying.
Yeah. Glad somebody did.
I'm just gonna let you keep going.
Good, I can make it even less understandable. So the main class feature and their smite equivalent is Hexblade's Curse, except no, it really isn't, but let's go over it anyways. So once per day is a free action. Pick someone within 60 feet. They get penalties on d20 rolls and damage rolls, basically.
And saves.
And saves.
Skill check. But
After
minus 20 to do 20 rolls.
Yep.
And damage.
Yep. Which would be great if it wasn't for the fact that they get a will save to negate it.
Yep.
That is based on charisma, which is not going to be your primary stat because you want to hit things in melee because that's what your character does. You're a melee class.
Bad as hell.
No, they're still not as mad as a
monk.
As a monk. Let's. Other than that, let's see. Add charisma to saves versus spells and spell-like abilities, which is just plain good, and that's where. That is where a good portion of the saves you're going to be making are going to come from, is spells and spell-like abilities, but not all of them in the game by any means. It's not as good as a paladin's overall, obviously, but it's still nice to have.
Saves in general.
Metal is actually very interesting because it is evasion for will and fortitude saves.
Yep.
Yes.
How good?
And the fact that they get it so low, because most things that do get metal are usually late.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time it at least shows up in 3.5.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Person.
Yeah, because I don't think any of the
I'm pretty sure we would have gone over it.
It's
I'm pretty sure we'd have gone over it before this.
Yeah.
Because it is a fairly noteworthy class ability.
Yes, it is. Let's. But yeah, that aside,
familiar, also known as how you lose XP.
Sort of. What it really comes down to is a familiar is like a feat, and then it's off over there, never engaging in combat.
Yep.
Let's see. Their bonus feats are mostly useless, as their combat casting, spell focus, spell penetration. All things that are great if you're casting spells at things and trying to make them fail saves. Unfortunately, the DCs of your saves are based on the spell's level themselves as much as anything in the formula. So actually getting a halfway decent DC on a spell requires you to have, high level spells to cast, basically.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work to go like, I increased my DC from ass to ass and a half. And again, charisma is their casting stat, which thankfully charisma is their casting stat, so that's a saving grace for them. At least it's not int. They're spontaneous casters like sorcerers as well, but and I'm going over their casting a bit because unlike paladins and rangers, whose casting is nowhere close to one of their major features, precisely because they are actually based on the arcane list, their casting is at least notable. It's not great, but it's at least notable. Let's see. But yeah, jumping ahead a bit, this is actually their spell list. Level 1 has some interesting utility on it. Notably, it has Mount. Sleep is goddamn useless. I don't know why they...
Hey, that's 4 HD worth of monsters.
You are...
Yeah.
You don't get this till level 4.
4, yeah. Let's see. Level 2 is where they start to get things that are actually good, like invisibility, mirror image. See, invisibility is not a bad utility. Spider climb is not bad to have.
I was gonna say I'm always a fan of spider climb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also touch of idiocy, but that's just because I find that funny.
It is funny, but it's such a if it doesn't have a save, that might not actually be bad.
Depending on what you're.
Yeah.
It's very target dependent.
It is very target dependent, but it is a good way of screwing. Oh yeah, it doesn't have a save. It does have spell resistance, but it doesn't have a save. Yeah, the problem is they're not going to overcome spell resistance either. They're half casters, so their caster level is half their level.
To be fair, I'm not casting on anything that has spell
No,
resistance.
their caster level is full caster. Caster level doesn't get halved for half caster.
I'm pretty sure it does. Let's see.
On this page. It is not on this page.
It is not on this page. 4th level and higher, his caster level is 1/2 his hexblade level.
Oh, it is 1/2. Weird.
No, that's all the that is all the half casters. It's same with ranger and paladin.
Yeah, never passes spell resistance.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wouldn't be using that on it. Also, I apparently played that class wrong.
It's one of those line items at the end of the whole thing, so I'm not surprised that you guys missed it.
Oh no, that wasn't what it was.
Huh.
I just noticed the alignment requirement.
Oh yeah, the alignment requirement is technically non-good.
Yes.
Yeah.
You could probably easily get this waved off if I'm going to be completely honest.
My DM never brought it up.
No.
They probably didn't know.
Yeah, you're cursing. You can't be good. If you want to be good and curse people, you have to use, I don't know,
make up a term for saying that does the exact same thing.
Righteous malady.
They'll bring it up whenever they bring up the sequel to the Book of Exalted Deeds.
Mechanically the exact same as curse, but not evil, so it's perfectly fine.
I think curses are actually defined as evil acts at least, so this is just them being pedantic.
I mean, diseases aren't, but they still have to make their own.
Oh. My god, you caught the flu. You've caught evil.
Diseases aren't, but generally anything you're going to be doing with a disease is almost invariably going to come out as evil anyways.
To be fair, intentionally spreading a disease, that's an evil act. I'll agree on that.
I mean, you can intentionally spread a good disease, and then that's perfectly fine, apparently.
Well, yeah, it's because...
I was about to say there's no such thing, but no, we just went over that last session.
There
absolutely is.
Yep, that's what afflictions are.
It's entirely a rules for thee, not for me situation.
Yep.
It's fine because you're doing it to evil.
Poison's bad, so we made our own poison.
That is true. I'm pretty sure most of the afflictions actually can't apply to stuff that's not evil.
No, they can't.
They can't, but that doesn't make their point any more or less valid.
I agree, but it's more like you're not generally going to infect an entire town with one.
It's okay for us to poison or disease you because you're evil.
Unless you're doing it to a town in the Underdark involving the Drow. In which case, in 3.5, you're going to infect an entire town.
I don't know. Most of those people are chaotic good rangers. So.
Well, yeah, but they don't live in the Underdark.
I was going to say, that's the difference is they don't live in those
They're
towns.
the ones who haven't managed to break out yet.
Anyways.
Still held back with the trappings of their society, which is made entirely up of chaotic good dual-wielding rangers.
No other classes. That's the only class they actually teach.
Yep. But yeah, in general, like, the best feature of this class is quite honestly the fact that it actually has a spell list worth casting.
Gets baleful polymorph, that's fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the other thing about Hexblade's curses is it does scale as you level up, so it does go to like -4 and then eventually -6. Which again, would be nice if you can get things to fail to save. And it is a will save at the very least, so versus the stuff where you're trying to make them deal less damage and not hit you, it is targeting their weak save generally. Like, the hill troll or the hill giant is not going to have the best of will saves.
I also like that even when you get multiple curses a day, if someone does pass the save versus curse, you can't try it again for 20 hours.
No, you can't. But yeah.
Although I guess the argument there would be just pop all 5 as free actions in one turn to throw it, try and okay, make another check. Okay, make another check. Okay, make another check. Okay, make another check.
Yeah. I think that's the idea behind that clause, but you know what, that's probably fine. If we can be completely honest. The DC is so skewed low. It does at least scale with half level, but like it is charisma based at the same time on a class that wants to hit things in melee.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would have made it 24 hours for balance. Maybe something closer to like a minute.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
Well, I mean, it isn't really much different. That's 10 rounds of combat. If combat isn't resolved in 10 rounds,
If it's a thing you're actively fighting, you're not worried about minute duration.
Yeah.
Well, it's more of if they escape the first time, but you encounter them later, like an hour later. Now you can still use that feature again.
Then they or you did something wrong.
More than likely, yeah.
Sometimes the DM just says, no, they escape.
I mean, if the DM's going to say no, they escape, they're probably not going to let you encounter them.
It depends.
Yeah. Generally, if the DM say no, they escape, it's because that they need to exist later in the plot for the plot to make sense. At which point you should probably do some rewriting, but that's a different matter entirely.
Clearly, that's not actually them. You're just running into a clone of them.
It's actually just a knoll in disguise.
Yeah.
Goddamn Knowles. What did he do?
Nothing.
Anyways.
But yeah, the only flaw of this list is the save spells. The save spells are just like, you're not going to choose them. You have a very small list of spells known.
And you've got touch spells, which you're going to be touching.
Yeah, touch spells are fine because there's plenty of times where you're not going to be able to full round a touch spell.
If you want to cast
attack.
like Vampiric Touch, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yep. And you have prime base attack. So you're going to be having good odds of making that touch attack.
But yeah. All right. So in general, it's an interesting base class with some highlights. It's not necessarily amazing, but it's runnable.
Yeah.
It's also the highlight of the 3 base classes, but that's a different matter entirely.
Remember what the other base classes are?
Samurai.
Oh, right. Yep, that's one of them. Yep.
So, my first note on Samurai is just run a Ranger.
Should your note could also be use the Oriental Adventures book?
Yes, because the Oriental Adventures book does have a different version of Samurai, and this is a much more generic version of one, and really just does a poor job of being a samurai even.
Yeah.
Almost everything that looks interesting as a line just isn't. Like, see, Daisho proficiency. What does this mean? You know how to use a bastard sword. Congratulations.
Yep.
You get Zalak West proficiency bastard sword.
Yep. Well, you need that to build your katana in one hand.
Yep. Beyond that, they basically get the dual wielding feat, much akin to how Rangers get the dual wielding feats for free as they level up, but they only apply to the katana and wakizashi as opposed to Ranger, which applies to whatever the fuck they want.
Yep.
Ki Smite is almost a good idea, because this is another class that also wants to have charisma for a reason. Yeah. It's like, and you can add your charisma to attack and damage rolls, which is as meh as it gets. It's like Paladin Smite Evil is charisma to attack, but is class level damage.
You can add your charisma to one attack and damage roll.
That's the same with Smite Evil in this edition. It's Pathfinder where they made the thing apply to a target, but yeah. And yes, it is one attack and damage roll. Now that goes up as you level.
Sure does. To Mighty 4, level 17.
Yep. And the other major thing they built the class around is intimidation.
Which, to be fair, was actually something very samurai-ish. It's why they usually wore those masks. you really wanted to intimidate your opponent to just lay down their blade and put their neck down so you could take their head.
Yeah, unfortunately, this one basically stops at giving them the jitters, which is the problem with it. Oh, yeah. Sorry, for a second, let's go back for a second. I forgot to make fun of Iaijutsu Master, which is literally just quick draw, but only with your katana or wakizashi.
Yes.
Correct.
As opposed to quick draw, which is with everything.
I mean, to be fair, that could be said about most of the stuff for the samurai. It's, hey, it's this feat, but only for your katana and wakizashi.
It's just like getting a limited version of a regular feat as a class ability when, like, fuck, you could just play fighter
Yeah.
and just take those feats.
So the advantage is they don't actually have to be dex-based. They can be purely
This is
strength-based
true.
as
You
a
can be
dual
purely
wielder.
strength-based, but
But
still.
so can a ranger.
Uh-huh.
And you know what a ranger gets? Better class features than fucking dual
Are you saying the other half of your class features being make intimidate checks slightly better is not worth giving up ranger features for?
Let me think of that. No.
Oh, well, shit.
As lackluster as base book ranger spellcasting is, it's still better than making your intimidate checks better.
I was gonna say, Ranger's not exactly the most well-regarded of base classes.
No.
When you're worse than a Ranger, things are bad.
Oh yeah, to explain to the layman, because I don't think we've explicitly gone into detail on how this works. Basically, in combat, you can do intimidate as a check in order to try and make things shaken, which is a minor penalty on attacks, I believe.
It's like a minus
two.
2, like attacks and skills or something like that.
Yeah. In and of itself, shaken is not great, but fear is actually a debuff that stacks up to frightened and then panicked, where frightened is they are actively running away, and panicked is they're just shaking their boots and not even going anywhere. The problem is you cannot intimidate past shaken.
Correct.
So in order to make them like frightened, for example, you have to get another shaken effect on them, or basically another source of fright.
Which you don't have.
Yeah, which you don't have at all as this class. Let's see.
It's also worth knowing that doing an intimidate check is normally a standard action. So you're not attacking any turn you're trying to intimidate people. You do eventually at level 14 get the ability to do this as a move action.
Yeah. You also get a mass stare down, which is at least doing an intimidate check to everything or all opponents within 30, so that's at least a thing. But it's not a good debuff as a mass debuff.
You can panic things at level 20.
Yep. At level 20, okay, your level 20 ability is legit actually good. But it's also a level 20 ability.
You can say, yeah, it's also level 20. Yeah.
Which means you stuck around this class for 20 levels.
That's correct.
Your DM said you had to pick a class and stick with it because there was no other
Also
reason.
checking my notes. If you stick at one class for 20 levels and 3-5, you're doing it right.
Yep.
Almost certainly. Speaking of a class that you don't want to stick around for in 20 levels, moving on to Swashbuckler.
I remembered. Yep, I remembered.
This class is good for 3 levels. Especially as a melee rogue, actually. Yeah, the main thing that stands out on this one is Insightful Strike, where you get to add your intelligence bonus to your damage rolls. While using a finesse weapon. They also get weapon finesse at level 1, which is nice, and that's a feature. That's a feat that rogues invariably usually want to take.
Oh yeah.
And beyond that, they certainly get things.
Dodge bonus to AC?
No, dodge bonus to AC versus 1 target, because that's how dodge works in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You could charge slightly better.
Over difficult terrain?
Yeah. A little bit of a higher bonus while flanking. None of this really turns their damage up in any capacity. This is the biggest issue this class actually has. Now, you're invariably going to be grabbing like the dual wielding feats because it starts with weapon finesse. It's dex based.
Yep.
It is meant to grab a dex weapon and add like intelligence to damage rolls, so you don't really have to focus on strength as much. It also has like 4+ int skills, which is nice, so you can actually do a little bit of skill monkeying on the side. It's not terrible, but it is very front loaded because like really you want insightful strike. Is also notably like effectively what Grace does is a bonus to reflex saves, giving it a medium save as opposed to just having a good and a poor one. If it ends up as a +9 reflex save, which is between basically good and poor saves. Which, while kind of an interesting way of doing that, that's about all I can say about it.
Yeah.
Eventually gets the ability, much later, it gets the ability to do strength. Cute.
Oh, yeah, it does get the ability to do strength damage with crits, which is nice, but you're not going to stick around in this class for 14 levels for crit
No, you
fist.
stick into it 19 damage for crits doing con damage. Or 19 levels for crits doing con damage. Your DM banned prestige classes.
DM banned prestige classes, and you decided not to multi-class out of this one for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, I wanted con damage on crits.
Yeah, I can't claim my my DM stuck us in one of these classes for that, because that DM literally just said you're only allowed the player's handbook. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah. Especially since these are just base classes, and it's not like these are particularly broken.
Uh-huh.
Nope, not even remotely.
Yeah.
It's like, I will say that person was new to D&D and DMing in general, and they thought the only book the player is supposed to have is the one that had player on it. That said, we told them a number of times that there was stuff in the other books that we should have access to.
Yeah.
And they only DM'd for a year. Either way.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of assumptions, especially pre the internet being what it is, like when these books were initially released, that it kind of worked out by a lot of people.
Yeah.
Us included to some extent. But yeah, the big issue with this class is even if you're limiting it, even if you're not going into prestige classes for whatever reason, you're going to go out into war, or you're going to go out and take fighter levels at a certain point.
Oh yeah.
All right, but yeah,
Either fighter or rogue.
Yeah, one of the two, possibly both, depending on what you're trying to do.
Yep.
As said, like taking 3 levels of this and just going straight into rogue, pretty effective idea. Yeah. All right. And lastly in this section, the first variant for paladins and rangers that gets rid of their spellcasting. Unfortunately, it sucks because it basically emulates spellcasting. Where they basically, yeah. Let's see, melee weapon wielded by paladin at level 6 or higher is treated as good aligned. This is not the hardest thing in the world to do anyways. Spend an action in combat, giving yourself a +4 to strength, wisdom, or charisma once per day.
So like the worst part is like divine might get a +4 bonus to like the only benefit of that one is the fact that it's an untyped bonus.
Yeah.
So it does stack with everything. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure like the bull strength and that stuff is just on their spell list anyway. So they could just cast +2 or +4 bonus to a stat.
As much as I rag on their spell list, I'm pretty sure it also still has at least yeah, it has divine favor.
Yeah, I don't know, they have divine favor. Yep.
Yeah.
Like additionally, the level 16 ability, you can cast Holy Sword once per day. I'm pretty sure they can just cast Holy Sword. That would be my assumption, is they just have Holy Sword as a spell.
Let's see. Holy Sword is a level 4 spell. So yes.
So something that they'd be able to cast at level 16 anyway.
And they would get more than just once per day.
Level 16, they have 1 as a base, but they're almost So it depends on
But
what
if they have a charisma bonus of
You're gonna-
+4, they'd have 2. Even if
it's,
they
it's
only had
wisdom
1,
based. Their casting is
Yes,
wisdom
wisdom.
oh,
based.
sorry, okay. Even if they only had 1, it's still the exact same amount they get
Yep.
on the level 16 ability that replaces
They can also cast other level 4 paladin
level 4
spells.
spells.
Yep.
Like I don't know, Cure Serious Wounds. The spell list is awful. I think I've been over this. Restoration. Restoration's a spell, at least, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, at least Ranger just straight up gets plus 10 feet of movement.
Yeah. At least that's an ability. It's that's different than just emulating spellcasting.
Yeah, they get the same thing. They get level 10 or level 6, where they get 10 feet of movement, which is an actual ability. Then they get the +4 stat bonus once per day for a minute thing. Paladins get it level 11 for some reason.
Yeah.
Then at level 13 and 16, they get spells they could cast anyways with their spell list.
Yeah.
The only very slight benefit of the spell replacements that are just spells, they're then spell-like abilities, not actually spells. Does mean you could take something like a quicken spell-like ability, or they get around some things that spells don't get around, but even then,
Yeah, even then, it's
you're giving up all of your spellcasting ability to get this.
Also, hey, Krampus. You may be muted.
May have fallen asleep.
I am in fact muted. Hello.
Aha.
I've been rolling consistent stealth checks.
Aha.
Only recently failed.
That's okay. I have not been rolling consistent search checks. You're fine.
That's fine.
Which is good, because I
I
need you...
actually-
I'm going to need you in a second, because we're moving on to... Prestige classes.
Prestige classes.
Okay, there's 35 of these, so this is going to be very much a lightning round.
Oh, God.
So, starting with this list, because they want us to give a list of general ideas for these prestige classes, I guess. Various overviews. Now, there is still the philosophy that the DM is supposed to make up custom. The prestige classes are supposed to be the purview of the DM, and they're supposed to ideally make up custom tailored prestige classes for each of the player characters. Which, Shiv, what's your opinion on that?
No.
Thank you. All right, so starting.
I ain't got time for that shit.
Agreed. All right, so we start first with Bear Warrior.
Bear warrior.
Yep.
It can turn into a bear.
Yes.
Those guys are by default good according to the weird cosmology of
It has bear rage.
Yes. It rages, and when it rages, it turns into a bear.
Right.
That's it.
If only I could
It
think
gets
of
a big charisma boost, but like or strength
Oh.
boost, like the
Oh yeah, it gets a
level
big strength boost.
5 brown bear is like plus 16 strength.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It is cute. The negative is you're a bear, so you can't really use a weapon unless you're cheeky as shit, and that's where it gets funny. Because it is shifting, so it can put the wild trait on its armor. Which means it still keeps its armor when it shifts. Which means it can also have armor spikes. Which is a weapon.
My favorite
Spike
thing
bear.
about that picture is not that it's the guy isn't a bear warrior. The bear warrior's behind him.
Yep.
That's his friend bear.
Also, Krampus, since you haven't said it already, yeah, it's a barbarian.
Barbarian.
I will now see myself out.
It's cute.
Screaming.
But yeah, it is cute. It's actually probably one of the more interesting classes in this book. Okay, so let's go down in quality. Here's Blade Singer. Elf
That class
hybrid.
exists.
Yeah, this is a class that exists.
All you need to see is the fact that it gets half casting progression, then move on with your life.
Pretty much.
Now, if you're working more on the assumption that this is a melee that happens to get some spellcasting from dipping into
Bard?
Arcane Caster. Well, let's just say you take
No,
one
Arcane
level
Caster
off.
in general.
Yeah, Arcane Caster Nail. It only needs 1 level of spellcasting, so you could dip like 1 level into Wizard. And...
That's how you know it's a bad class already.
Huh?
That's how you know it's a bad class already.
How?
Because it's an elf only.
Well, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, as I said, this tends to be a sign that this is going to be a bad class.
Just see that and write it off and move on with your day.
Yeah. For form's sake, let's see. Of note, Blade Song style is at least interesting. It gets to add intelligence to its armor class, and it isn't limited by level. So it might be good as a 1-level dip. As a matter of fact, considering that's front load of +1, if it wasn't for all the skills and the feat tax, never mind. Yeah,
Well, there's a lot of feats.
Yeah, there's a lot of feats. That's the...
Like, if it was easy to get into, doing a 1-level dip for into AC would be fine.
Yeah, especially for a wizard.
There's like a 4 feat tax. Yeah, you're going to have int. I mean,
yeah,
the skills aren't really an issue for a wizard. But eating 4 feats on stuff that you're really not going to be using because you're a wizard.
Possibly more, because you also have to have...
Combat casting is maybe fine, but combat expertise, dodge, and weapon focus, longsword, or rapier just we're going to take as a wizard.
What's worse is the fact that you also have to have proficiency with longsword or rapier in order to do that.
Well, you're an elf, so you have proficiency with longsword.
Oh, that's true. They do at least have that by default.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other abilities are even more lackluster.
Spell Song is some...
I just realized that's just the Scarlet Witch with a rapier.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bonus to casting defensively, and then later on, ignore light armor.
So yeah, as said, you're pretty much garbage.
Quicken a single spell of up to 4th level.
Yeah, if I'm gonna be
up to 2nd level, then eventually 4th level.
Yeah. Congratulations, your class is getting out-competed by a rod of meta magic.
Ooh,
Pretty
also,
much.
you can at level 10, you make a full attack action for longsword and make 1 extra attack.
And they get -2 penalty on that attack and every other attack you make.
Correct.
Yeah. Or I could just cast haste. Or have
there's
boots
an
of
idea
haste.
here, but I couldn't tell you what this idea is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. All right, so moving on to a much more solid and better...
Int-based fighter,
yeah,
for some reason, with a 1-level wizard dip. To actually be able to get into the class.
I'm pretty sure there are better classes that do that anyway.
Oh, they're almost certainly better classes that do that anyways.
Yeah, almost certainly.
I wouldn't be surprised if there are better classes that do that in this book.
Is the actual Armored Knight in this book? I don't remember what book that one's in.
Spell Sword, I believe it is.
Spell Sword, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get to that one later.
That one, if you want to be a casting melee.
Yeah. But yeah, moving on to a higher note. Cavalier.
It's just good.
Yeah, it is just plain good.
It's also in most of the charts that was in the beginning.
Yes.
Yep.
It was on the good guy chart. It was on the bad guy chart. It was on the mounted chart. It was.
I would hope it's on the mounted chart.
I'd be amused if it was the only thing on the mounted chart.
No, it's because the halfling.
Yeah. Which granted, that's probably actually more usable. So in second, this makes kind of a return for second edition AD&D, but in second edition AD&D, Cavalier was basically shorthand for like chivalrous knight, and not actually not per se the prestige class Cavalier in 3.5, which is very much attached to the horse for most of its class features.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Including Deadly Charge, which I believe when you charge with a lance, you make things explode.
If I remember correctly, do you have it on here? Do you have a page with you actually covered?
No, for some reason I didn't put that page on there.
I'm pretty sure it's just double damage, if I remember correctly.
That's only a little disgusting.
I think it's actually more insane than that. Let's see, Deadly Charge. Declare a deadly charge before making an attack roll. Failed attempt or attack. If you hit, you deal triple damage with a melee weapon, or
triple damage.
4 times damage with a lance.
If it's a lance.
Yeah.
Correct. Basically, auto 4x crit with lances.
Yeah.
And you can see why this class feature is, or this prestige class is considered good. Almost too much so in weird ways. It doesn't beat spellcasters by any measure, but
it'll blow up marshals, no problem.
yeah.
So
Also,
as a weird
it'll
kind of,
absolutely dead a spellcaster if you can catch them.
Yeah.
so as a weird kind of swerve, also still D&D related, but this is also the class that kind of shows what a dick dungeon master is. The D&D cartoon, because Cavalier is one of the classes that he gives out, the abilities for. To one of the kids, but he gives the Cavalier a shield and no lance. And no mount.
Because of course he does.
His power is the ability to complain, to be right about 70% of the time about the thing he's complaining about, and to block anything with his magical shield, but has no lance abilities and no horse.
Like if you look at the other stuff on here, mounted full attack is just, I'm pretty sure you can move and do full attacks.
Let's see. Mounted. Where is mounted full attack? Oh, there's full mounted attacks. Can make a full attack when his mount moves more than 5 feet, but no further than a single move action would carry it. Knowing that a mount usually has a movement of like
50 or 60 feet, depending on the mount.
Yeah.
Potentially more if it's something like a flying mount.
Unless your mount's a tiny mascot horse.
So your marshal that gets to move and full attack has an explosive charge that gets better at level 10. It changes from deadly charge to unstoppable charge.
Yeah, it becomes base 4 times and then 5 times.
5 times for lance.
Jesus.
You all get bonuses for just bonuses with lances and swords.
Oh god, what's the base attack requirement for that? Is that 8?
8, yes.
8, yeah. It is not a...
Oh god.
Yeah, it is not a low-level prestige class for good reason to be
But as
completely
far as
honest.
marshals go, it slaps.
Yeah. Now it also has that fatal flaw of, yeah, sometimes you're in a dungeon and taking a horse in there just isn't a fucking thing.
That's why you'd be a small character.
Exactly.
You can ride around on a medium size. That's why you tell your DM you just want to ride another player. Then they tell you no.
Rightly so, because that's just stupid. You are not Master Blastery this, goddammit.
What if another player literally made their character just to be the mount of another character?
What if that other character is a horse?
I mean,
no. The problem is that the DM tells you that's not a horse, that's a broom.
It's an awakened horse. Or I guess an awakened broom in this case.
Alright, so moving on, and moving a bit quicker, because we have to get through more of these.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. This is actually one of the ones worth talking about, at least.
I mean, if we get through one book, we get through one book. It is what it is.
Yeah, sure enough.
Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, pretty much. So
That's a class that exists.
Yeah, so my brief line is, it's lesser dwarf racial features plus a die of sneak attack and death attack capstone. Okay. Darkwood Stalker, another fucking elf class.
You know the dance and drill in that one.
Elf, archer, rogue, ancient foe is bonuses
orcs,
against
it's fucking
orcs. Okay,
orcs.
moving right along.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a front-loaded favorite enemy.
Anti-orc. Yeah, exactly.
Specific orc favorite enemy rogue thing.
Also gets death attack. Because of course it does.
We had it.
Okay, Dervish. So
I remember Dervish being decent.
Yes. So a dervish is a member of any various Muslim Sufi orders, which some of which perform whirling dances and vigorous chanting as acts of ascetic devotion. Except in D&D, where absolutely nothing of what I said applies.
Someone whacking people with a scimitar.
So it basically gets to move in full round action, but not without caveats, but not without actually taking into account its own caveats. Now, by wording, I wish I put this on the screen, but by wording, first you have to start a dervish dance as a standard action. It lasts basically for the combat. Its duration is based on your ranks in perform dance. Which, notably, the prerequisites are +5 base attacks, perform dance 3 ranks, tumble 3 ranks, feats, combat expertise, dodge, mobility, and weapon focus, any slashing melee weapon.
I had forgotten about tumble.
Yep.
Let you ignore attacks opportunity move.
Yes. So how the dance works is you get a full move or you get a full standard move and entire full rounds worth of attacks. However, between each attack you have to move 5 feet and you cannot move back into the space you came from. This means in order to not take attacks of opportunity, you basically have to tumble.
You need that tumble skill.
However, movement mastery means you can take a 10 on your tumble skill.
Yep.
So if your bonus when tumbling is a +5, you can go at half speed and not take attacks of opportunity. Or if your bonus is a +15, you can just go full speed and completely ignore attacks of opportunity.
Yep.
And those are not actually hard numbers to achieve, especially since
you're
very much going to be dual wielding. The other thing that Dervish does is it gives you a +1 to your attack and damage rolls with slashing weapons while you're dancing. That increases by 1 at every odd number level. So you actually get a decently large bonus to attack and damage with slashing weapons.
And you get fast movement, which is not bad.
Yeah, especially for a class that literally wants to be doing that anyways.
Yeah.
You also get spring attack because they can't all be winners. Let's see. Dance of Death is cleave. And 1,000 Cuts is actually a neat capstone. Once per day, you may double the number of melee attacks you make while performing a full attack action, whether you're dancing or not.
Yeah.
You also gain the benefits of the Great Cleave feat with slashing weapons while performing 1,000 Cuts, even if you don't meet the prerequisites. Not this really matters because it's not like it's good, but it's something at least.
You let you cleave as many times as you want around.
Yeah.
Provided your targets are next.
Yep. All right. Now moving on to the stuff that's has to get through. Here's Drunken Master. It's Drink Rage plus meh improvised weapons with a Monk Prestige class that doesn't advance in any of the good Monk features.
Yeah, it's a flavorful class, but it's not good.
Yeah.
The lesson you need to learn from Drunken Master, you are not Jackie Chan.
Yeah. But on the bright side, if you want to become a Drunken Master and have no idea how Prestige classes work and the DM is making custom Prestige classes for you, he can just hand you this Prestige class and then you can give him a dirty look for handing you this shitty Prestige class.
And everyone has learned a valuable lesson.
I think Drunken Master might actually be the first Prestige class I ever played.
I'm sorry.
I never played it again after that.
Yeah. Alright, Exotic Weapon Master. God is designed for level dips, and unfortunately, it's not designed well for level dips.
Hey, Exotic Weapon Master lets you take 3 exotic weapons.
Unfortunately, none of them are good.
Correct. Moving right along.
Eye of Grummish.
Hey, look, the Eye of Grummish.
This should have just been the monster manual, seriously. Basically, it's a barbarian-flavored horde leader with some minor fluffy abilities.
Yep.
All right.
It's one of those. This is just a monster class.
Yeah.
The way to play barbarians.
The more barbarians. Super double rage. More strength, extra attack, slowly knocking yourself out, and might not be able to stop. You can also yeah. So basically, you could frenzy on top of your rage.
Yeah.
Prestige class that killed 2 of my characters in one campaign.
You have to make a check to not stop frenzying.
Yes, you have to make a check to not stop frenzying. You also take
to end your frenzy. Otherwise, you have to keep attacking. And when you run out of enemies, you have to keep attacking.
Do you want a frenzy? Yes or yes. Do you want a frenzy? Yes or yes.
I mean,
you also take
to stop frenzying.
Yeah, you take like 2 non-lethal damage all around. That's not actually as big a deal, but
yeah, you take 2 non-lethal damage. But you do have to make a DC 20 will save to stop frenzy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, mind you also stop when the duration expires. It's just the duration is 3 plus your con modifier.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Which is boosted because you're probably raging.
Yes.
Sometimes the drow that you're fighting realizes how dangerous the thing is, casts darkness on themselves, so that the only thing visible to the Frenzy Berserker is the spellcaster right next to them. Not good times.
Other thing that I did not initially note is
One of the other things that if you get hit while you have uses of frenzy left, you immediately frenzy.
Yep.
Unless you make a will save to not frenzy.
Now, granted, that might be one of the
Also,
better ways of doing that because frenzy does not. You cannot activate it as a free action. Looking at the ability, unless they buried it somewhere. Yeah, it would actually be a standard action normally to activate it.
Yep.
Now, character can enter a frenzy as a free action.
Oh, okay.
But you can only do the free action enter a frenzy.
But yeah, actually halfway decent prestige class that sometimes kills other party members.
Yep.
Yep. All right.
Oh,
Gnome
guys,
Giant
stay on
Slayer.
him.
You want a really specific class that's only available for gnomes and exclusively bonuses for giants? Okay, moving on.
Yeah. Though strangely enough, it's not an elf prestige class, so at the very least it's for a different race.
Yeah, it's a gnome
this very
prestige
much
class
yeah, this
that
does
is still horrifically
gonna
pigeonholed to a very specific niche.
the worst part is it's not actually good at it.
No.
Yeah, I can say we've seen classes that are non-elf but still race specific,
It's
and
just
we treat them the same.
Yep.
it's just favored enemy, except specifically giant.
Yep. Speaking of,
Yep. Halfling Outrider, a more dungeon flavored cavalier, or you could just since you're halfling, just be a cavalier and it'd probably be a better class. Everything would be a better everything.
yep.
Oh,
Right. Okay. Why is this not in the monster manual instead? Is another question I'm going to ask.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time I see the name Hulking Hurler, my first thought is that is a monster name, not a class.
Hulking Hurler, it throws stuff.
Yep.
The biggest claim thing I can think of for the Hulking Hurler was the Hulking Hurler was used in a optimization form for D&D form for that eventually led to determining the hit points of the planet.
Yes.
Yes, it did.
People managed to optimize a Hulking Hurler and doing average of millions of damage in attack, and then declared that this would be doing so much damage to the planet, which led other people to determine the hit points of the planet. The planet does not care if you do millions of damage to it with attack.
Yeah.
The planet has health in scientific notation. It is ill concerned about anything you do to it.
Also, at a certain point, I'd wonder whether or not you ran out of rocks, but they probably figured out a way of summoning really big rocks.
Oh, the build wasn't even throwing rocks. It was throwing, like, purpose-made steel spheres.
Ah, okay. So even more restrictive in the amount of them you would even have access to.
Yep.
Just trying to make really dense things, I guess that makes sense in a way. Alright. Hunter of the Dead. Anti-undead pseudo-paladin that uses wisdom for all of its class features.
Uh-huh.
Except this, yeah. Either wisdom or nothing, because the Smite Evil... Actually, that's on the specific one. Wait, did it actually use Smite Evil? Or... Alright, I'm actually curious on this.
Has Smite Undead.
It uses wisdom for Smite
Evil.
Undead. It is a wisdom-based Smite Evil.
Well, it's not a Smite Evil. It's a Smite Undead.
Exactly.
No, I'm aware of that. But they do also list Smite Evil under the...
Well, that's the sample Hunter of the Dead.
Oh, okay, that's the sample.
Yes, that is a character who is a level 5 paladin who would have Smite
Yeah.
Evil.
That makes sense.
And then has Smite Undead separately as a different ability.
Alright. Next, Invisible Blade. It's a dagger rogue with duelist AC bonus, basically.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Justicar. Flavor-heavy bounty hunter, deals non-lethal sneak attack-ish damage and strength damage with it, which is kind of interesting at least.
You lied, that's not just a car at all. That's a whole person.
What if that person turned into a car?
Oh, that need to be a robot in disguise.
Ugh.
Well, it's any lawful, so he can be for Mechanus. So he probably does turn into a car.
Actually, a Bodron in disguise.
Exactly. Yeah, this is more functional than you would think in the right campaign, but does nothing versus the same stuff that screws over rogues.
Correct.
If you can't do non-lethal damage to it, then yeah, non-lethal strike doesn't really do you much good.
Uh-huh.
Kensai pays a small amount of XP to magic his weapon and power games concentration. Really, power games concentration.
Yeah, he's like concentration. At least.
Yeah. The signature weapon is actually the least of his abilities because let's see, DC 15 concentration and check as a move action. Just give himself +8 strength.
8 strength. You can use this multiple times. Goes up. DC goes up by 5 or 24 the 24 period.
So, whenever a class decides that what it's going to use for like setting DCs or the usages of abilities is going to be a skill check, this almost always means that it is something that can be power game straight into the fucking sky, because rigging skill checks is really easy. Thus making this class more functional than the designers probably intended.
And yet, at a certain point, we'll talk about a class that uses skill checks as a base ability, and it is bad.
Yeah, yes, because unfortunately, that's at the point where they actually learned how to play their game, but way overcompensated.
There is a class later on that uses skill checks as a base ability that effectively has negative advancement.
Yep. Neither the Chalice. Anti-Fiend Pseudo-Paladin, that's actually good at its job. It's very good at its job.
Yeah, if you know you're fighting demons, then Neither the Chalice whips ass.
Yeah. So Fiend
If
Slay,
you're not fighting demons, it's a bunch of empty levels.
Basically, yes. Yeah, so Fiend Slaying, unlike Smites, is just a fucking bonus when you hit demon, or is just a fucking bonus when you attack a demon. It is +1 to attack and an extra d6 damage on all your attacks.
Actually, just evil outsiders for fiends.
Oh, it's evil outsiders, yeah.
Okay, so if you know you're fighting evil outsiders, go nuts.
Yeah. You're taking a nice jaunt across the lower plains.
Because +4 attack and 46 damage on every single swing against them is golden.
Yeah.
Yep.
You also get a crappy spell list, but that's pretty much par for the course.
That's not what you're here for.
Yeah. That's by no means what you're here for.
Who cares?
Yeah. Night Protector. Tank that is the textbook definition of underpowered.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. 5 foot feet of an ally that has fewer hit point dice than you do, which is probably not happening in the first place.
Fewer hit dice than you do.
Why this unnecessary restriction is beyond me.
And it's an ability to give them your AC.
Yes. And scales with level, so you can give even more of your AC to the poor guy who died too much, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why that's fewer hit dice than you.
Yep. Master Thrower. Attempting to make thrown weapons good, but it's actually not a bad attempt for goddamn once. My lack
typewriters.
Yeah. So thrown weapon trick is the main thing. The two things that stand out mostly on the thrown weapon tricks are Deadeye Shot, which increases the crit multiplier on your thrown weapons by 1. Yeah, which is cute. And weak spot, yeah, when using thrown weapon against a target of their size or larger, you're making ranged touch attacks. But you don't add your strength bonus to damage. This is not a bad trade-off, if I'm going to be completely honest.
Yeah, to do touch attacks. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll figure out other ways of doing damage. You just,
Yeah.
As far as the class is concerned, like, level 2 is evasion, like, you at most you're probably getting 2 thrown tricks anyways and getting out of this class, if I'm being completely honest, but
I mean, if you did stay till 5, you get free crit, improved crit. Presumably you'll have weapon focus whenever like dagger you're throwing.
Yeah, I put the prerequisites here. You have to have weapon focus, so yeah.
You have to have weapon focus in your own weapon. So.
Yeah. You also have to have point blank and precise shot, which you should have anyways.
You're doing range attacks, you're gonna have those anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so tax-free, honestly. That's the other advantage of the class. It's like
and even, as I said, even if you go in for like a 2-level or 3-level dip, like you could be a fighter going for 3 levels, pick up the 2 good weapon tricks and get evade, and that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
And then dip into something else.
Yeah. Master of the Unseen Hand. A class entirely built around telekinesis. It is absolutely funny and well worth talking about.
And actually, yeah, the telekinesis spell is actually very good at attacking once you realize what you can do with it.
Yes, which is, I think, dump a bag of great swords on the ground and...
You don't even have to be able to wield them. They just do weapon damage when you're tossing weapons. So larger than usually wieldable great swords, even.
Yep.
Yeah. So the biggest problem with the telekinesis spell is, goddamn, it has a lot of text.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a tendency in 3.5 to have spells that are very multi-function, as opposed to just breaking them down into a bunch of different spells, which would be the saner way of doing this.
The important thing for the giant block of telekinesis text, which there is a lot, is the very last section there, or last like 2 paragraphs, where you can do violent throw. This lets you, basically the spell lasts a round per level, or until you do something that ends it. And a lot of these are little cute things like, you can move an item around. You can do combat maneuvers at range. Or you can do violent thrust, which immediately expands the spell power to let you hurl an object or creature, 1 object per creature or creature per cast level to a max of 15. They all have to be within 10 feet of each other, towards a target within 10 feet per level. So if your max is out at least 100 feet, and a maximum of 25 pounds per level to a maximum of 25.
Yeah.
If you're throwing objects, you make an attack roll. You add your casting stat instead of your regular attack or thing for the attack roll. Items do damage based on their weight. Where like a 25-pound item does d6 damage. Or alternatively, weapons do whatever their weapon damage. So if you drop a bag of colossal greatswords that do 8 damage each and throw 15 of those as cast, it's good stuff.
Yep. As far as the class itself is concerned, it gives you even more options basically when you have telekinesis up, including attacking with a weapon, eventually just full rounding with a weapon. Mind you, still using your caster level and your casting stat in order to attack with that weapon, thus making you actually effective in combat as a caster.
Yeah, the improved violent thrust, which means use your caster level rather than your base attack bonus when you attack with objects being launched with the violent thrust ability of telekinesis.
Yep.
Good stuff.
And Fling Skyward is also fun.
Now, of course, you could notice the fatal flaw of this entire class is it has no spellcasting progression.
Correct.
Yeah.
Ideally, you want to get 15 cast levels to max out telekinesis, and then accept that is the side your cast level is going to go, and you're just going to specialize in hucking things about for fun.
Yeah.
Fling Skyward is also funny. It just allows you to throw people straight up.
Yes. All right, now on to the other prestige class based around a single spell, except it's bad. Mind Spy. So it is based around detect thoughts. Most notably, it is turned on It is turned on when you can read surface thoughts, which notably takes 3 rounds, and they have to fail a will save versus this level 2 spell. Now, eventually, you could get that down to 2 rounds via the class features with faster mind scan. Okay, so moving on.
Can't all be winners.
No, they can't all be winners. Nature's Warrior. Druid wild shape class that trades spell levels for mediocre bonuses when wild shaped.
Yep.
It still gets 2 caster levels out of this whole class. Nature's armaments are not good, really. If you were in love with one of them, I guess you could basically go like 1 or 2 levels in this class. Not sure what point being second level is, but yeah. Occult Slayer. Very meh anti-caster class, to be completely honest.
Yeah, you can be better anti-casters by getting feats that exist later.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of boils down to. There is eventually a line of basically anti-mage feats that would do a better job.
Order of the Bow Initiate, a ranged prestige class that wants you to make standard attacks for extra damage. This is actively worse than just more fighter levels.
I was like, this is actually the worse than not being this and still being a bow user. Do you want to make 1 attack with an extra 5d8 damage, or do you want to make like 7 attacks?
Purple Dragon Knight. Incredibly flavorful class that is completely fucking worthless. This is actually the epitome of the bad prestige classes that are meant to be kind of rewards for effectively playing along, and like, you've joined the Purple Dragon Knight Order, you can take levels at Purple Dragon Knight. I recommend that you don't.
I know I had this book. I don't recall this class.
Yeah,
Because
it's a weird one in that it's a half paladin bard.
It has it gets a couple uses of
Like,
Inspire
it
Courage
gets
that
Inspire
don't
Courage, it
scale, so it is just a +1 bonus.
has like a fear. It's a thing.
Yeah, it has a hodgepodge of class features, none of which are
It-
particularly impressive.
It's a weird Buffy class, but it has to go on like a martial. So no.
Yeah. Rage Mage.
Rage
Cla-
Mage.
A class made for that one guy who wanted to cast spells while raging.
Yep.
Yeah. As you can tell from the complete, or the half level, or the half spell progression, this is very meh. It is amusing, however.
It's like, I don't know why, but yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
It's like, who asked for this?
Jim asked for that and no one else.
Yep. Ravager, seriously, why is this just not in the monster manual?
Yeah, this is another monster prestige class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to be chaotic or neutral evil.
Must survive initiation, but yeah. Disciple of the God of Slaughter with some flavorful, very mid abilities. Like, no player character is going to want access to these anyways, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Repeat Mauler. Alright, this is an amusing one. This is a very backloaded grappling prestige class. This is
Grapple
either
people and fuck them up.
Yeah, this is either worthless or you know what you're doing, and there's no middle ground. If you know how to make a good grappler, you're going to make an amusing character. If you don't, avoid this. Just granted, if you don't know how to make a good grappler, you're probably not going to be making a grappler in the first place.
Yeah.
I mean, the devastating grapple thing at level 5 is cute, where it's just like, okay, I grappled you for 3 rounds, fortitude save or die.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, their saves are wisdom based.
And well, the scale of class level that doesn't ever go above 5, barring nonsensical tricks.
So like, it's fun if you know how to make a grappler. It's fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It won't be as stupid as things you can do grappling in like Pathfinder or in Pathfinder, but
yeah,
just 'cause some snake.
Rodin. There you go. It's a boring prestige class that can give you back your class features that you lost for not being lawful or not following the samurai code in your boring base class.
Get you sneak attack.
It does get you sneak attack. It's not actually even bad, but it is very meh because it's like sneak attack also gets bonus feats. which are... there's some things on that list you might want to take, I guess. If you're making a range character.
Yeah, it has a little stuff.
Yeah.
Spoke stuff.
Alright, Spell Sword.
Spell Sword. You lose casting, but you get a huge amount of ignore spell failure for wearing armor. So if you want to be a armored fighter, armored casty fighter, here you go.
Yeah, and more importantly, and what actually makes this class more worthwhile is Channel Spell. Where you
yeah, you can hit people and cast a spell.
Yep. Move action, you put the spell in your sword, and then the next time you hit something, the spell gets cast on them as well.
Uh-huh.
And unlike other class features that do something neat once per day, this one starts at 3 times per day for God. So you can actually use it.
Goes up to 5. And then at level 10, you get the ability to do 2 at once.
Yep.
Are you going to be as powerful as a straight caster? No, because you'll live game half the levels, but you'll have fun.
Yeah. Lets you use a lot of spells that are generally thrown to the wayside otherwise.
Yeah. And if you want to be like a fighter, fighter, wizard, multi-class, get like mithril armor, you can basically wear full plate with no failure.
Yep. Stone Lord. Dwarf class with bad thematic earth powers.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Alright. Tattooed Monk. So keeps the good monk feature scaling, and then gives you mediocre to bad abilities in place of other mediocre features you would normally gain.
Yep.
Tattoos are kind of interesting, but then you also have to read through this class, and
that's the mistake.
Are you saying that getting once per day?
No. Once per day per tattoo he possesses, a character with a tattoo can has charisma modifier to enhance the bonus of any of his ability scores, including charisma.
Hey, I can once per day get a enhancement bonus to my dex score equal to the number of tattoos I have. That lasts for at most a minute.
This is the third worst tattooed fighter or tattoo superpower fighter I've ever seen.
So this is the third tattooed superpowered fighter that you've seen, you say?
No, weirdly I've seen more than that. It keeps happening, and it keeps being bad. Although this is only the third worst.
I'm frightened to know about the 2 that are worse.
I can take Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, the second one is the tattooed teenage alien fighters from Beverly Hills, who are really just more people in spandex and like plastic masks who are wrestling around on a green screen set and talking to what I think is a tumor they pulled out of somebody. But the first one is Tattoo Assassins, which is a game that technically never came out, but does still exist in some form on the
internet. Sometimes the internet was a mistake.
Yeah.
This is what happens when the guy who wrote Back to the Future and made the pinball machine for it tries to make a fighting game at the height of fighting game popularity.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Day and Night. Flavorful, also mediocre class with nothing that stands out or going for it at all.
It is also definitely a NPC class.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is zero reason, unless your players are Red Wizards of Thay,
so
for you to be playing a Thay and Night.
While it's not a reason for you to play the class, you can reflavor this as a wizard bodyguard generically. But it's still very meh.
Yeah.
War Chanter. More bard without spells. Focuses on its own spells, doesn't scale Inspire Courage, but its abilities aren't bad. So not bad that I didn't put them on the page. Or did I?
That sounds like perfectly bland.
No, you didn't.
Not good enough to boast. Not bad enough to lament.
You grab this page where they cover the abilities of the NPC.
Okay, here, let me there, we'll put this here for a moment. Let's see, Inspire Toughness, +2 temporary hit points per class level to everyone. So Not actually terrible. Especially after a while. Be like, everyone gets like 10 or 20 hit points. Chanter music. Spire recklessness. Decrease our arm. Okay, you can trade arm bonus for attack. It's not terrible. Combined songs, you can actually have more going. Inspire all. Might be able to frighten something. Because already could do like 5 hit dice higher than you and still frighten them. That's not actually a terrible CC ability. Singing Shout is bad because it's an enhancement bonus. Inspire Legion, the capstone here. I think. Yeah, capstone. Okay, yeah.
Let's everyone use the highest base attack party.
Yeah, or the work at higher base attack. Or the Warcaster or Warchanter's character level, which will invariably basically be a full attack bonus, one way or the other. And then a +2 competence bonus on damage as well. Which is... Ignore me.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Me trying to put things back. Okay, yeah, moving on. And finally, Warshaper. Kind of locked off Prestige class until Eberron comes out, at which point this is funnier. It's actually a powerful Prestige class if you ignore the prerequisites. Because it's like, first level, you're immune to stunning critical hits. Then Morphic weapons. You gain more... let's see. Oh, natural tastic. Yeah. You grow natural weapons at will. Just straight up +4 to strength and con. Level 4, you actually gain fast healing, so you don't actually have to worry about healing out of combat. You can technically grow back your limbs, and there's technically a level 5 feature. Part of the reason why I actually am amused by this class is these prerequisites were not made or were not very well future-proofed. So
well, it's not like we're gonna give a base race with shape change subtype.
No, you're right. We're not gonna get a base race with shape subtype. We're gonna get 2.
We're gonna get multiple. Yep.
Because there is Changeling and Shifter in Eberron, both who have shape chamber subtype, which means at level 5 you could go straight into this class. Which and if you are just doing like a straight melee instead of like trying to find some way of polymorphing and this kind of benefiting that class, going like 3 or 4 levels in this class is pretty goddamn solid.
Yeah.
Alright, we're out of those. Feats section. In the supplemental rules. So the feats section is easily the best section in this book.
Yes, it is.
There are a lot of feats, and they did occasionally do something at the very least interesting and or good. Yeah,
I spent many hours going through these feats for characters.
Yep. So the first part of the feats section is the general feats, because there's more than one part to this. So instead of like trying to read down this list, I actually pulled some out for once. Arcane Strike is a interesting one for actually trying to make a hybrid character. Granted, you have to be able to cast 3rd level spells to do it, but it lets you spend a spell slot as a free action to add that spell slot, or to add that spell slot to attack and get that many d4s as damage for an entire round to every attack.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's powerful enough to actually be worth throwing a spell slot away.
As long as you have the attacks to really make it worth it. Like if you're doing spell sword, yeah, go nuts. Throw like a 5th level spell in there, get an extra 5d4 on the 4 attacks to make it a turn, 5 attacks to face.
Yeah.
And +5.
Yeah, and +5 to attack, which makes
like,
it so you're...
That's actually good.
Yeah. Dash thrown here for... It fills a very small amount of space, but yeah, was also in Miniature's Handbook, technically.
Yep, +5 feet of movement.
Yep. Nothing amazing, but decent filler feat. It beats the hell out of toughness. Improved rapid shot, because the range characters need to get better, I guess. Power critical itself is not anything special, but eventually becomes the prerequisite for an interesting line of feats.
The extra feats are in here.
The extra feats are in here, which makes a lot of classes much more usable. Like extra rage, if you just take that at level 1, your barbarian no longer has to really worry about raging or his uses of rage, because you have 3 uses of rage a day at that point. Extra smiting turns smite from like a thing you occasionally remember into an actual class feature. Extra stunning we'll go over on the next page. And finally, I pulled out Ki Shout to make fun of it and be annoyed. Here you go. Have this charisma thing to shaken stuff. It's
We went over it with Samurai. It's fine.
Yeah,
it's an upgrade version unless you have to panic people.
Yeah. Like, the positive I can say is technically this isn't demoralizing, so it would actually stack with demoralizing. Thus, you could make things frightened, I guess, over like 2 rounds. That's me stretching for it.
Cash out also isn't limited to power. It's just anyone who has a base attack bonus of 1 in charisma.
Yeah.
Cash.
Yeah, anyone can actually take these.
Yeah.
And despite the name really implying Monk, but that would also be terrible for Monk because it's making Monk care about charisma. Okay, something much more of note. So we didn't really go over Stunning Fist in the base book because it wasn't really important in the base book, but it is a lot more important in this one. Stunning Fist is actually the origin of the key points that monks use.
Yep.
In future editions. Because basically, while it is a feat that anyone can technically take, the prerequisites are stupid and your amount of uses are incredibly low. Whereas Monk, I think it's like 1 per 3 levels for that, and Monk just gets it at like level 1 and can use it once per day per Monk level. There are also related feats starting in this book that can spend your uses of Stunning Fist to do other things. None of these are great, but at least the idea is there. Axiomatic Strike, I think, is the best use case of any of these. In the sense that if you have a campaign full of, like, literally straight demons or maybe Slod, just basically chaotic things, just being able to use your Stunning Fist for 2d6 extra damage might be better, especially once you get a decent amount of usage, because you can only Stunning Fist once per round, I believe.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. No, I don't think there. Wait, Stunning Fist before you make an attack roll. No, there's no once per round limit, but yeah. You can also throw the Axiomatic Strike on the same attack that you threw a Stunning Fist on.
Yeah.
And it can affect things that aren't affected by Stunning Fist, so if they're immune to stun, you can still do it. Alright. On to the Defiant feats. So, another thing we didn't go over in the base book, because it wasn't as relevant there, is the Turn or Rebuke Undead. Or if we did, we very briefly mentioned it. It's basically a way of CCing mass undead that clerics get.
Yep.
However, paladins get it too, except at -3, or cleric level -3, making it even less useful. The entire feature is also charisma based, which is not the casting stat for clerics anyways. So it tends to get somewhat ignored, or occasionally you'll bring it up if you have like a swarm of zombies or something. And as far as Paladin is concerned, it was a complete fucking waste of a class feature that you would almost never remember even having. Up until this book, where you actually get the Divine Feats, where you can use your turn or Rebuke Undead abilities to do other things. And by other things, I mean almost invariably Divine Might. Which, as a free action, spend it, and you add your Charisma bonus to weapon damage rolls for a round. As opposed to what you could normally do with Turn Undead, which is...
Turn Undead.
Yeah.
Watch it sit there unused.
Yeah, since they're unused, especially if you're not fighting undead, where it becomes just a useless class feature.
I mean, these are also good for clerics to take as well.
They're also perfectly fine for clerics to take, assuming they haven't like tanked the charisma or something. Because all of them are, I think almost all of them are, not all of them are charisma based, but yeah, they tend to be.
Divine Vigor is cute. It just has duration minutes equals charisma modifier.
Yeah.
It gives you plus 10 movement, plus 2 temporary hit points per level.
Yeah, which is pretty significant actually.
Nice if you're going to be a battle cleric.
Yeah. These feats actually originated in Defenders of the Faith, but were worse. Nothing was a free action, basically. Divine Might, for example, was a standard action to activate, and its duration was also charisma rounds.
I mean, that gets you more rounds out of it.
It does get you more rounds out of it, but you generally have you're usually activating it on rounds you're going to full round anyways, so how many of those do you have in a day? If you have a decent charisma bonus, you got a lot of turn undeads, quite honestly.
Well, you see, you're a paladin who went into Cavalier, so you're full attacking constantly.
This is true. Is your combat... are you going to have more than 7 rounds of combat in a day?
Sometimes. I mean, unless you're a Cavalier, in which case you have probably 2. You destroy everything.
Alright, tactical feats. You get 3 hyper situational effects that don't come up that often or are good enough to justify caring about. Also, the fucking prerequisites. Like, somebody thought these feats were way better than they actually were to be. Like, some of them are just, here's a class feature for Sun School. Unfortunately, Sun School isn't good. And just in general. It's like none of these are worth a feat. Weapon style feats. This is a good idea. It just has poor execution. It makes your weapon choice matter a bit more, but they generally have a high feat tax, and some of them just aren't good enough for what they are. I think Spinning Halberd is like one of the more notable exceptions. Like you do have this. Yeah.
You just grab 2 up in fighting, but you gain a dodge bonus and an extra attack.
Yeah. Now it's the normal issue of extra attacks in this edition of yeah, because I believe that one is also a -2 on the oh no, it's actually a better extra attack than normal. It is just at a -5. It deals a d6 plus half strength modifier, but it doesn't give you a penalty on anything else.
Yeah, it's a hilt swing.
Yeah. It's effectively what the Polearm Master is in 5th edition, or the equivalent thereof. Alright, finally on to the spells. Well, not finally, but on to the spells. This is all of them, by the way. I have not omitted a single spell from this book. This is everything.
I mean, to be fair, this is the complete warrior.
Yeah.
Not the complete caster. Or is it complete mage?
Mage is the second one. The first one is... Or was Mage the first one? And different... there's 2 different ones that are both for caster. I can actually figure that out. Complete Arcane is the first one. Complete Mage is the second one.
Right, Complete Arcane.
Yeah. But yeah, uh, this section basically included here for completion. There's nothing terribly interesting. Hound of Doom is kind of funny, I guess.
I think Cloak of Bravery Greater isn't good, but at least it has funny stats to it. Like, it's a 9th level Courage spell, so you only get it from a single domain. But it gives you immunity to fear effects and +2 morale bonus to attack rolls. But its area is a mile.
Yes.
Its duration is an hour per level.
All allies within a mile.
Like, is it worth a 9th level spell slot? God, no.
Now, mind you, they
But
need
it's
line of.
funny.
The other funny part of this is they do need line of sight to you. With a
Well,
mile.
they don't need line of sight to you.
No, they do. Allies who don't have line of sight to you are unaffected.
Oh. Oh, yeah, they do. Huh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So while it technically
It's funny.
well, technically has a range of a mile. So you give everyone a standard pair of binoculars so they can see you.
I stand on top like a pillar. Spells that were added. Another Courage spell?
What? No, that the lines were. Yes, it's the Courage domain. Courage domain is in this book because of the gods in this book, which I don't think I might or might not. No, I think they come later.
Oh, hey, Valiant Fury's cute. A buff that you can throw on a divine power style buff you can put on other people.
Yeah. And again, it's Courage domain, so no one else is using it. There's a good reason we haven't seen any of these spells. It's mainly because like those are all limited to the Courage domain. And the Hexblade spells are not even good for Hexblade. But yeah, it's not. They're not bad spells in general.
Yep.
All right, so Guardian familiars, which are mostly amusing to look at.
That's got big hands.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a rock'em sock'em robot if I ever saw one.
These are not worth the effort it takes to actually make and build them, but they are amusing. Yeah, because acquiring a Guardian familiar, you have to have the improved familiar feat, which is in this book by virtue of the Hexblade gets a familiar. Notably, it's at half level as well, because reasons. And then you can craft them, which is basically under the construction. That's Blade Guardian.
My Blade Guardian.
Yep. It's like, hey, do you want a Guardian that is... Or do you want a familiar that is more survivable, I guess? But I think they lose most of the reasons for taking a familiar or not trading that feature away somehow if you figured out how to.
See, I see that one, and my Mia thought is, we programmed this robot to play intricate symphonies on piano, but gave it buzzsaw hands.
As you do.
Its life is truly
And a skill section, because they haven't figured out the fact that you don't need a skill section in any book past the base book, and as is, you overbuilt the skill section in that book.
But we need to add more. We need to add more knowledge skills.
More stuff about
knowledge,
sleight of hand.
architecture, and engineering.
Or
I think the
weapon
first
drill.
one really gives you just everything you need to know about this section. Perform weapon drill.
Yes. Yes, it does. Alright, Fantasy Warfare. This is not as useless a section as you would think, because this is actually about running a campaign that takes place during a war. Which is, it's exciting at least. I'll give the credit on that. Yeah, just general campaign ideas for doing that as well. It's a non-crunchy section that just throws ideas at the wall and is kind of neat if that's something you want to actually do. Like, it also has the advantage of it's not trying to shove the mass battle system down my throat. And I always appreciate that, where I can just narrate the stuff that's happening over there, and then the PCs can do like individual missions or maybe like cover a small part of the battlefield or something that doesn't take devolving the game into a completely different system to account for the fact that trying to take a turn with 45 different characters on each side will be basically fucking impossible. But yeah, various missions on tables as well, because amusing tables are amusing.
Hey, tables.
Yep. Then sporting combat, basically like gladiatorial duels, jousting, etc. And the magic item section that for some reason comes after that. I narrowed this down to the magic items worth talking about again, because, let's see. Anti-impact. The really specific protection against, falling, basically. Take half damage from stuff like that. Axe block, hammer block, and spear block, which, man, do they not like giving you DR at all. It should be noted that damage reduction does not stack in any capacity. So you basically just use the best DR that you have for that situation, so it's not like this would be thrown on top of any other DR you might have gotten.
Yep.
But for a +6 bonus, you can get DR 5 versus everything. And that's still not good. Let's see. New weapon special abilities, exit wound, which is amusing. It is a +2 bonus, but it's a typeless extra d6 damage, and the much more amusing part is you get to attack everything behind your target with just increasing ACs for it.
Yep.
Explosive. This is not good so much as intended to annoy the shit out of the DM. Especially on a ranged weapon where you can make a shit ton of attacks and therefore make them make a shit ton of reflex saves on one enemy.
Yeah.
It's also amusing when applied to a melee weapon, just in not the way you're expecting, because Wilder is subject to the extra damage as well from the explosion.
If you hit one with your exploding sword, gonna get exploded.
Yep. This is also
Why do it
typeless.
as a rogue?
Well, you're gonna roll one eventually.
Yeah, but until then.
I mean, right, you're gonna roll one, then take 2d4 damage and not care.
Yeah, exactly.
New wondrous items, Gauntlet of Dwarven Forge. Why did I put this here? Anyone?
The world may never know.
Oh, okay, that's a neat glowing gauntlet thing. Oh, okay, yeah, technically this does actually apply to a monk. Because it's anyone else touched by the gauntlet, so you can just punch people.
I'm touching you. I'm touching you. I'm touching you.
Yes, I know, you're punching me in the face. Please stop.
Yep. Standards, which are interesting because they are a magic item with that doesn't actually use, or it is a magic item with a bonus that doesn't actually use a slot. Instead, it's just put on a halberd or a lance. Notably, here's, yep, and here's heroism being easily the best one because it's just straight up the morale bonus to attack to attack rolls, saves, skill checks. If you don't have a bard, it's just good. And new special materials are actually in this book, which I was kind of amazed at. Then I read them and realized why I didn't remember them being here. Because they weren't worth trying to remember. Let's see, warriors in a campaign. Yeah, just general campaign advice if you want to do more fighter-oriented campaign.
Warriors in the campaign. All right, look, buddy. Between you and me, Warriors are going to have it pretty rough. Throw them a bone a little. Have the wizards coming down with the sniffles every now and then.
If only their advice was that good.
Every team needs a Sokka.
Oh, God. I hate how right you are. Also, I love that he was pretty much the best character in that show.
Warrior organizations, stuff you can drop into your campaign and or have players run across. Like this one for the tattooed monks. Anyways. Or, of course, the Purple Dragon Knights, because...
All right, they exist.
Yeah, they certainly exist. The Ravagers, because that was pretty class earlier as well. Okay, we're done highlighting that. Okay, here's where the warrior pantheon was, because we needed more gods. That aren't already...
More gods mean more colors.
That aren't already overlapping other gods, probably in a few ways.
It is I, Typhos, god of hating people who are free.
Let's see, deity of tyranny, sworn enemy of all freedom-loving people. You give cartoon villains a bad name.
See those people over there? They're pacifists.
How many people?
So I burned their
How many
castle
people
down.
are worshipping Typhos?
Blackguards.
Let's see. Evil fighters, blackguards, evil enchanters.
Yeah.
Evil enchanters?
Yeah, they literally steal people's freedom.
These are the people that are evil for the sake of being called evil. They have no motive other than those people exist. I hate them.
No, they hate them because they're free. They're not followers of Sularain, who is, I hate them because they're alive.
That's fair.
Pleased only by destruction and loss of life.
Yeah. Alright, epic feats. I only put these here because I wanted to play the brief game of how many of these would be fine if they weren't epic feats. And I think the answer was like most of them. Most of them, honestly. Let's see, here's a feat that gives you +1 on all your attack rolls. Yeah, they're fucking fine. Who cares? Armored skin, +1 natural armor bonus. Say, yeah, again, fine. If a feat gave you +1 armor, I don't care. Especially it's not even touch AC. Dodge mobility, point blank shot. You don't provoke attack opportunity when firing a bow. You get this as a class feature in non-epic classes. That's fine. Combat insight. Add intelligence rather than strength to melee damage. What? Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay, I think this is the first one where it's DR3 doesn't stack with damage reduction granted by magic item non-permanent effects, but damage reduction. Okay, so this last line is what makes this one not fine. Damage reduction 3 every time you take a feat is might actually add up to something significant. Epic combat expertise. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Who cares? Epic prowess. We've been over epic. Okay, epic toughness is probably one I'd have to say no to.
They're at 30 hit points.
Yeah, that seems fair to me. Can I get that level 1?
Yes, that's the problem.
Oh my god, you can.
Yeah.
Well, you can't really get it level 1. But...
You can't really get it level 1, but since there isn't actually a prerequisite, if we took the epic part off, you could, and that would be the actual issue. Now, if you were taking this at if you were taking this at later levels, it's much more of a who cares. It's still strong because it's literally 10 times toughness, and granted toughness is crap, but yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Epic weapon focus.
A fighter only epic.
Fighter only epic feat. Well, right now we could pretty much take off all the prerequisites for weapon focus and greater weapon focus, by the way. Other than, the previous weapon focus. It's back to the whole epic prowess isn't really a broken feat if you could actually take this as a non-epic feat. Epic Sunder is that's probably fine. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to ignore Legendary Writer. Let's see. Perfect 2 weapon fighting. Yeah, make a 4 attack and make any attack for offhand with your primary weapon.
It's the fourth attack with your offhand.
Yeah, it's the 4th attack for your offhand. Who cares?
Yep.
Wield oversized weapon. Yeah, sure. You gain a few extra damage on an attack. Also takes monkey grip to do it.
Okay. Now that we've finally gotten to that. Now that we've gotten to that one, I have so many questions about this picture.
Uh-huh.
I figured you would.
Okay, so this person is in full plate mail, wielding a very oversized axe, fighting a frost giant. Now, the questions I have are: A, does this person regularly fight frost giants? Is that why she's carrying around the axe? Number 2, does she carry around the axe all the time, or did she specifically go and grab an oversized axe because she knows she's dealing with a frost giant?
It could be implied maybe they took the Frost Giant's axe.
That is literally what I was
Because
thinking. Like,
he does have a shield and not a weapon in his other hand.
So there is text down here. With the wield oversized weapon feat, the halfling can hold her own against a frost giant, especially since she's also like a level 21, 22 fighter. So, God, I hope so. Frost giants aren't that ridiculous a monster. I'm pretty sure a level 20 fighter can pretty much solo them.
Frost Giants are like the 3rd tier of giants. Of like 7.
Yeah.
First. It raised a bunch of questions. Like, is this person in the habit of going to hunt frost giants? Is it like,
It might be the 2nd tier.
They are okay. Base frost giant is challenge rating 9.
I want to say it's hill giants are the lowest. Then it's frost giants. Then it's stone giants. Then it's fire giants.
Let's see. Run by sure.
And then storm and cloud.
Stone is 8. Challenge rating. Hill is 7.
Hill's definitely low. Okay, so frost giants are above stone.
Yeah.
Fire giants are above frost giants.
Yeah. Fire is
storm and cloud. Or
fire is
storm.
10. That would be cloud and storm. Yeah. I don't even have to look those ones up.
Now, large giant is above
third tier of giant. CR 9. This halfling is at least level 21.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure a fighter that is poorly built can still pretty much solo a CR 9.
That halfling with 12 levels on the CR of this giant does not need the wield oversized weapon feat to hold their own against it. You could ankle stab the thing with a dagger death for all it matters, with how glowing you would be at that level.
With just your sheer bonus differences alone, I'm pretty sure it can win grapple checks and pin the giant.
coup de grace, coup de grace.
All right.
Covering the dice.
More exotic weapons. I managed to actually shove all the pictures on the page. I think the most notable one here is the Elven Thin Blade. And the Elven Blade by extension. Because
the Elven Blade had special rules that made them good.
I'm not gonna lie, I immediately saw the bow, and my first thought was, okay, which one of these weapons is also in Link's inventory? And the answer is 2 others.
Yep, there is a boomerang. And of course,
there's the boomerang, there's a hammer, and there's a bow.
If I remember correctly, I remember what was good about the Elven Blade. The Elven Blade was good, besides being a 8th.
I believe it's also a finesse weapon. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's a finesse weapon. Let's see. Yes, the Elven Thin Blade is a finesse weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
D8, 8th, and 12.
Yep.
Good.
Primitive weapons, because I don't know, I guess. Also improvised weapon rules. More improvised weapon rules, I guess.
Yep.
Because we can't not overbuild things. Alright, that's the end of this book.
That's the end of the book.
Yep. So yeah, in general, this is the first complete book, and it shows. Was built towards the beginning of 3.5 and well before they kind of learned how to play their own game, at least a bit more. But does
say that, but there's always going to be bad options.
There's always going to be bad and trap options. That part is true.
That being said, there were a lot in this one.
There are a lot in this one, especially in the, quite frankly, in the prestige class area.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So there was something I was thinking about, and granted, this is not from any like official source, but this is just me like hypothesizing in absence of evidence. But I was basically thinking that one of the big things that had an influence on D&D in its nascent years, like pre 3.0, was like the gold box style of games where you made a party of your own and were controlling like 6 characters at once. And I started thinking about that in relation to how some of the like prestige classes work and stuff. And from the perspective of those kind of things, I was wondering how many of the designers of these were like sitting. I know they were probably working together at most points, but some of them were probably also like sitting in isolation, like going, "Okay, I got this hypothetical party of this, and this," and playing out all the characters themselves.
I think there's a bit less to it. All of it looks like the worst type of top, or almost all of it looks like the worst type of top-down design, where they basically had a concept and then threw abilities onto it and then stopped.
Fair enough.
Without like any regard for how the game plays or how well balanced this actually is. Like top-down design is excellent in the sense that it makes for very flavorful things, but if you're not taking into account, or if you're just doing this in a vacuum, then you are basically just writing straight fluff, and all the mechanics you threw onto the class, some of them may as well just not be there, which can be fine. Even in 5th edition, you do find the occasional ability that might as well just be there as fluff, but they have enough other abilities that more than make up for it. Usually in the same level that you'll get a semi-fluffy ability, you'll even get a more functional ability. But the problem is, like, this is some of the first attempts Wizards of the Coast themselves have at actually designing D&D. Not that TSR was any better at it.
Okay, I was not aware that this was during a company change that this was happening. So it's different designers coming in with ideas of like, oh, well, now we can do all this with D&D.
Yeah.
And not really grasping the rules yet.
And, well, in fairness, TSR, even though they actually designed D&D originally, didn't grasp the rules very well either. And this is also kind of a rules reset from the previous edition as well, or previous editions as well. Because while the previous edition, the 4 to 9 editions previous to this one were different rules-wise, they were fairly kind of intercompatible with each other, in the sense that if you took a monster from any one of the monster manuals or Fiend Folio or whatever, you'd basically be able to run it in any edition. That is not the case when it comes to 3.0 upwards.
Yeah. I think part of it is also probably a more insular look at their game in earlier editions of D&D as well. Be like 3.5, 3 and 3.5 are definitely when D&D really kicked off. And obviously D&D is in full swing nowadays. But as far as like tabletop RPGs, 3.5, D&D starting to become like a big like, oh, D&D is that, tabletop RPG, was like the 3.0, 3.5 era. And before that, they didn't have anywhere near as many eyes looking at their games. There's a lot less feedback in general about, oh, there's these weird, this is bad, this is good, that kind of thing.
Yeah, all that feedback very much comes later after people actually start playing the game. The internet is a burgeoning thing, but the message boards actually start to pick up, and there's more direct lines of feedback as well, which is something that TSR did not have the advantage of, being a company that operated in the like late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
And 90s. It's like there is no internet there, so your feedback is basically going to conventions and or games you played with your friends. This is exacerbated by other problems that TSR had, but that's a completely different matter.
Yeah, and like when you have as tight of a group as that basically as your core, like they may notice the trap options immediately, so there being trap options don't matter to them, or your designers have very specific ideas and no one to dissuade them from those ideas. Which leads to constantly being like, one of the designers outright said at one point, even like 3.5 era, like, yeah, the crossbow's never gonna be as good as a bow. And we're never gonna make the crossbow as good as a bow. Like, it's never gonna get the same level of support. Trap options or trap feats and stuff are there on purpose.
Yeah.
Yep.
which I could actually draw parallels to that in Magic card design to some extent, because that is part of Magic design, design philosophy. Since, yeah, you're buying a pack with 15 cards, but realistically, if there's even one good card in that pack, it's kind of above the average.
And that's somewhat expected in the case of something like Magic, which is a collectible card game.
Yeah.
Where you're going to have a bunch of commons in packs that aren't really going to be powerful cards. You're saving those generally for your mythic, your rares to be a chase card to go after. This is a book you're buying once.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm not buying five copies of Complete Warrior to get a version of Complete Warrior that has good feats in it.
I bought 5 copies and one of them had Cavalier in it.
Oh man, you lucked out in your poll.
Like it works in something like that where you need to fill in, and obviously you can't make every card just as strong as every other card, just for deck balance purposes. And
God, I just thought of a
like
cursed RPG design.
But ideally, for something like a D&D party, you want every class to be viable.
Yeah.
And you want multiple builds to be viable, as opposed to forcing everyone into very specific builds that actually work, and a bunch of shit options that don't.
Yeah.
You're not trying to sell people more copies of your book, or more, as opposed to Magic, where you want people to buy more booster packs. So you're only having cards that are, I'm building this type of deck, so I need this one rare card, and I have to keep buying packs for it. I bought Complete Warrior, I have everything. Don't give me shit.
Yeah.
On the other hand, you do want to give them incentive to buy other books.
Yes, don't give you shit. If books are good, I'll buy more books.
Yeah.
If books have good options, I'm more likely to buy future books that have good options, as opposed to this book is just trash and no one uses it anything. Why did I spend, $30 on a book?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the books either need to have good options or have good fluff that actually makes them amusing to read. Which is me segueing.
do we have time to do that book?
Yeah, we'll run over a bit, but I think we do.
Okay.
All right.
Because this book does have great fluff.
It absolutely does have great fluff. So yes, I'm going to stop the stream and restart it so we have a separate video. But we are moving on to the Draconomicon. All right, so